Okay, Michael, how are we doing? Are you in good shape to start?
Yeah, I'm just writing down who's here. So, yeah.
Okay, so we have, I'm just doing our quorum check. We have Roger, Pat, Dave, myself. So we do have a quorum, and Jessie should be joining us. She's going to be a little late. But when you're ready, Michael, let me know and we'll start the meeting.
I am ready.
Okay, great. Okay, it is 5:01 and we will call the meeting of the Historic Preservation and Architectural Review Board to order. And we're going to start by opening a public hearing. A public hearing regarding the proposed demolition of the existing garage at 21 Eagle Street in Cooperstown. Bennett, when we open the hearing, is there anything you need to say that you haven't explained to the board already regarding the demolition proposal?
I don't think so.
Okay. Jackson, are there any letters or communications, or is there anybody waiting to speak on behalf of this proposal?
We didn't receive anything in either direction. Nope.
Okay. Did people have to register in advance to speak at the meeting tonight?
I don't know. I didn't receive any requests to speak.
If anybody's on the meeting who is present to speak about the public hearing, can you make that known, please?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. And if anybody listening to the meeting wants to somehow communicate that in the chat or unmute yourself and communicate that, we will leave the public hearing open for a few minutes just to make sure nobody joins us who might want to speak on behalf of 21 Eagle Street's proposed demolition of the existing garage. In the meantime, if there's nobody here to speak right now on that, we will go to the regular agenda. We'll skip over item A until the public hearing has been closed and move on to item B, 28 Leatherstocking Street. Emily, would you like to tell us what you'd like to do?
Thank you. So yeah, we are looking to add a small addition on the old addition to the house. I think it was done in the 60s. It's not original to the house. And we received a zoning variance for about 4 feet into the sorry, the word escapes me, the setback, I think is the word I'm looking for. So essentially you just have to come to you to explain what we're doing. Very little of what is there is changing. We're literally just moving a wall 4 feet to sort of flush out that side of the house. We're not changing the siding. The roof is staying the same, just extending the same material. And there is a replacement window on that side. It's one of the like low-lying wooden replacement windows that was done on the house in the 60s or 70s that would be removed, but it'll just be sided over with what's already there. And I do have photos that I can send to you all. I kind of like just made it up of what it'll look like, just to give you an idea, but it's pretty simple.
Does anybody have any questions for Emily?
Yeah, Jack, can you put on the forms that she filled out?
Yes, let me work on sharing my screen here.
Yeah, good. As I understand it, Emily, it'll be an addition, but it's facing the backyard, so it's not visible from the street. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
And what sign are you gonna use?
There's currently on that part of the house, it's a white vinyl siding, and we were just gonna match it and actually reuse some of it that's coming off of the side we're moving over. Eventually we will be looking to reside the whole house, not for this project.
Okay.
And I did just drop pictures in the chat if somebody wants to open them. The first one is what it looks like currently, and the second one is my little editing of what it'll look like afterwards, because it's literally just fleshing out that side.
Get the application up, Jack.
You're muted.
Oh, there you go.
Apologies. I may have to restart this in order to be able to share. One moment, just security stuff for the computer. All right, how are we looking there?
Oh, good. Okay, yeah.
Yep, so as
So-
you can see, it's on the very back. Nobody can see it from the road. And it's just the red hatched out part is what we'd be adding.
Great.
So just fleshing up that little bump out with the exterior of the main house, correct?
Yes, and it's staying one level, that's not changing. And we look to reuse as much as the siding on that side as we can, and then we'll get a couple extra pieces that we need. And that was just showing the dimensions because it's the same on both sides.
Right.
Emily, you're not planning on reusing the window, correct?
Correct. Yes. It isn't original to the house. I mean, obviously this addition
Right.
isn't, but it's
Nope.
it's one of those like low wooden replacement windows that are on the front too. That we also eventually look to replace with something more correct for the house. But this one we didn't want to keep.
Pat, do you have any questions?
I was wondering when you excuse me, you plan on re-siding the house, body itself, what are you thinking of using for siding?
We haven't decided. We're waiting for materials to go down in cost.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So we're hoping to do something. Our plan is to do the horizontal lap siding. We found the oldest photo of the house we could find had that was the original siding. Current shingle siding isn't original to the house.
Mhm.
But material, we're just kind of waiting to see what we can afford.
I think everybody should.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's way too expensive, although it's going down.
Yeah, exactly. So we're really hoping maybe next year we could do it, but obviously I'll be back for that. So to be determined.
Excuse me, what are you gonna do about the, are you gonna take the siding from the back of the house and bring it out to the end of the addition?
Yeah, so that'll continue on. We're either going to get new pieces for that side of it. They do kind of meet in halfway along that back side, and then we'll just get new pieces that it'll be seamless, but it'll fit in the way it's supposed to. And then on the short side, we'll hope to reuse some of the ones that are already there, and then we'll just have to add some pieces for the window, some new pieces. But our contractor doesn't think it'll be hard to match. It's pretty standard vinyl.
Thank you.
Dave, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Roger, do you have any
No,
questions?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. So otherwise, materials to match existing, I'm assuming cinder block foundation as well, Emily?
Yep.
Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Yeah, I will. Whereas the Historic Preservation Architects Review Board has made the following findings of facts concerning the proposed application at 28 Leatherstocking Street. It consists of a one-story addition, which will be facing in the backyard, filling in a area of approximately 4 feet by, what was the other one? Jack, I can't remember the.
Is it 10
dimension.
feet, 4 by 10, is that correct?
4 by 10 feet, yeah, thank you, right. Public hearing was not necessary, terms of secret have been met. And therefore, section 300-26, the compatibility principles, say 2C, 3A, B, C, and 5. Should I put 5 in there? I don't know, energy. Anyway, now therefore be resolved that we duly so forth on this 14th day of September, determine that the proposed work meets the criteria for the historic control overlay district.
Should I put 5 or not?
Pardon me?
Should I include 5 in the,
Go ahead and include 5. Yep.
And I'd like to clarify, I suggested it was 4 by 10, it's 4 by 9.5 feet. So Michael, you might want to correct that in the minutes.
Great.
okay,
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Would anybody like to second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dave. Any discussion? All in favor, please say your name. Liz votes yay.
Roger, yes.
David, yes.
And I think Pat, did you vote also?
I did, yes.
Okay,
That, yes.
thank
okay.
you. Just wanted to make sure everybody's was discernible. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Emily. Good luck with the project. When you
Thanks.
know what you're gonna do next, come see us.
Will do. Have a good one.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll leave the public hearing open a little bit longer. Let's move on to 38 Walnut Street. Keith, would you like to tell us what you're coming to the board for?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hey, there's still a picture up on my screen of the last proposal. Okay, it just went away. Thank you. Okay, we on?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm new to this technology. So anyway, hey, thank you for having me on tonight. I filled out that application after I purchased a house on 38 Walnut Street with the intention of fixing it up and making it beautiful again. And in that process of the discovery process, where certain unknowns that you need to discover, everything has been turning out much worse than the guesses could have been on the high side. The house just, I mean, it needs a whole new foundation. It's basically just a shell. It's not livable. It needs all new plumbing, electric, and bathroom, kitchen. It smells terrible from dogs. The previous owner was a wonderful woman. I knew her for years, but her priority was to have a house for dogs, and that's how she liked to have it. So it just got to the point, and I brought in some people that are probably smarter than I am just to get their opinion. And like Dave Basler came in and looked at it, and he's like, I'd tear it right down and start all over. I've had the foundation looked at, and it's a big project and very expensive. So I've basically come to the conclusion it'd be better just to start from scratch, quite frankly.
Keith, I know you're new to this process.
I
and
am.
I know you haven't worked, not in my experience with HPARB, you haven't worked on any houses in the village. So I think you've probably learned through this process that the Glimmerglass Historic Preservation District has some different thresholds regarding demolition, especially demolitions of whole structures that are listed as contributing on the Glimmerglass nomination, which this is. So before we can even think about calling this application for demolition complete, I'd like to take a step back. I know you said you've talked to a variety of people, but we need to work with you to come up with an independent engineer who does a report, an engineer that you agree to and we agree to and you pay for, who does a report about the structural stability of the house, because we really have to meet the threshold of hardship on the house and determine whether the house is truly not, is truly beyond repair and rehabilitation before we can have a public hearing about its demolition. So I'm asking if anybody on HPARB is first of all, has any other questions or comments for you, but otherwise I'll be asking HPARB to make a motion that we seek in collaboration with you an independent engineer's report.
Well, is that so that is a requirement like in the law to have a licensed engineer actually do that?
We can ask you for that before the application is complete.
Okay.
And we have asked other applicants for that. And because it is the role of the Historic Preservation Board to protect the structures that are listed as contributing on the register nomination. And part of that is determining in an applicant's opinion, it may be one thing, and certain contractors may say, oh yeah, tear it down. But we would like to identify an engineer who is somebody that you're comfortable working with and we're comfortable working with for an independent opinion on the true condition of the house in terms of its viability.
So what in that report, like what kind of criteria needs to be in there to make it so that, what I would like to do is acceptable or not? Is it's just like the whole, I can take my fist and punch through it's that 1931 block that doesn't hold up.
But
you know, it's just that it's shot. Is that enough in and of itself?
No, it's not enough in and of itself, because a foundation can be repaired. There are many people in the village who have older houses, 1930s and earlier, who spend a lot of money repairing foundations.
Right.
So it is getting an independent engineer in there to determine the structural stability and viability of the house. So that's something that Jackson and I can work with you on. If you want to think about engineers who you would be willing to work with, come up with a handful of engineers. We can come up with a handful of engineers.
Like John McManus, he's an acceptable engineer.
We're asking to come up with several names so we can identify names that are agreeable to both the village and you. And then you would take the financial responsibility for the engineering report.
Okay. I'm not trying to cause problems. I'm just trying to understand this better, because it is every step along the way costs me money, and I'm just trying to make this
I understand.
financially successful as possible.
It would be.
I just like, so I know the foundation, there's no problem, no problems. They would agree with me 100% on that. I'm just trying to understand what more of that is, because basically the house is framed and the framing is solid. There's no question about that. The roof's not
Right,
caving
and
in.
that
No
is
question
there-
about that.
it is a solid house.
And the big
Yeah,
problem, the
yeah.
foundation, but it, it just, this the 2x4 walls and you got to insulate it. I want to make this a good house. I don't want to have just slap some paint on it and call it good, and so I'm
But
just
we would
trying
like
to
to see you
further.
do that.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
would really like to do that and like change the windows, upgrade things. And I'm just trying to narrow it down so I understand better what exactly, because I try to compare to apples, and like there was a house on 43 Delaware that they tore down that I am fairly familiar with, and that house, I mean, maybe equally as bad. And I'm just trying to figure out how,
Well, that none of us have been in there. We would like to see an engineering report. All of these properties are considered for their own merits. We don't compare and contrast properties because each one has its own issues. So the next step would really be to step back, work with the zoning enforcement officer and myself, and determine an engineer who can be considered independent and can tender an independent opinion about the structural stability of the foundation or the house, to determine, whether a demolition is warranted, because it's really our role as a board to prevent the demolition of contributing properties. So we would really like to see if an engineering report indicates that. So
what's contained in the engineering report?
can you hear me,
Like,
Keith?
yes, I can. What's like contained in the
I'm sorry?
engineering report? What's contained in the report that you're looking for? What kind of information? Like,
We can develop a scope of outside of the meeting, we would work with you to develop a scope of work in the process of putting it out to an engineer. So to really determine what your concerns are in terms of this house is you're applying for demolition for specific reasons. So
Yes.
outline those reasons, and those are the things that we would ask an engineer to look specifically at to determine whether those reasons are valid.
okay, so basically you just, so I'm not making things up, you want to verify it.
And then,
for
not that we
accuracy.
doubt you're making things up, but
No, it's
black
okay.
and
We
white
don't know
and
each
gray
other.
in the middle. Yeah,
Okay.
no, but it's a very subjective thing in different people's opinions. Some properties are worth saving and some aren't. And we're
Right.
trying to, with an engineering report, an independent engineering report, turn it into an objective where we can
Okay.
determine based on some, basic standards, whether this is viable or not. Okay.
can-
So what I'm going to do is, unless somebody, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is that me?
Was somebody trying to say something? Okay, I'm not sure. What I'm going to do, unless other people on the Historic Preservation Board have questions for you at this point, I'm going to ask that between now and in the next meeting, or certainly as soon as you and Jackson and I are able to meet together, either virtually or in person, to come up with a list of engineers that are agreeable to both you and us, and determine it, somebody who can make an independent decision, and work from there at getting a report going before we discuss a public hearing for a demolition. Okay?
So can I, just so I
Does
completely
anybody on the Historic Preservation Board have any other?
Yeah, may I make a comment? Yep, Ken,
Sure, Roger.
looking at your application, I expected to find a house that was, strong wind would blow it over. And I was surprised that the structure that I looked at, I didn't get on the basement, but that it looked pretty damn good, pretty solid. And I agree totally with Liz that I would need I mean, tearing a house down and starting over again is a pretty drastic maneuver. And I would really think it would behoove us to ask you to get a engineer's report about the structure, the viability of what's there right now, because what's there right now could well be saved. And I think, in fact, it should be saved. But I don't want to push it through financial hardship, but I think that Liz is right on. I totally agree with her in terms of requiring a engineer's report.
It definitely could be saved, and it from the outside it does look better than it is. It's a matter of how much it costs to do it compared to starting over, and the feasibility. It's just it needs a lot, and
We understand that, Keith. There's a section in the historic preservation law about hardship, and many contractors and homeowners interpret that as hardship on their wallets. It's actually hardship on the structure. So it's our responsibility to consider the structure, and unless you can prove that the structure is experiencing hardship, it's not the feasibility of interior improvements that are of our concern. It's maintaining the structure itself and continuing to have that exist as part of the historic fabric of the village. So we appreciate you working with us. Did anybody else on the Historic Preservation Board have any questions or comments?
Liz, I have a question for you. If you were going to make a motion about engineer, are you still doing it?
I'm sorry, I could not understand that.
Liz said that she was going to actually put a formal motion through for the engineer. Are you still doing that or not? You're muted. You're muted, Liz. You're muted.
I generally like to ask okay, I realize that. I'm sorry. I generally would like to ask another member of the board to put that motion forward. Is anybody willing to put a motion forward regarding an independent engineering study paid for by the applicant?
Yes, I will. Roger, Nick, I propose that the applicant obtain an independent engineering report before we can proceed with his wish to demolish the structure. So I think that this is very necessary.
Second that motion.
And that the engineering report be obtained by a qualified individual who's acceptable both to the applicant and to the chairman of our committee.
Second that part too.
Pardon me?
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Roger. Okay, and is that it, Roger? Did you want to say anything else in the motion?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, any discussion?
Liz,
Yes, Dave.
I know foundations can be repaired on existing buildings by completely removing them and replacing them, because we did it at our office building. So.
And I think that that's something we will ask, certainly if that's of Keith's concern, we'll ask the engineer to focus on the areas that Keith feels are the arguments for demolition. So we have an independent understanding of what the issues are.
Right.
So thank you. Are we ready to vote, or did anybody else have anything
Liz,
to
I had a
add to the conversation?
I had a question.
Yep.
Keith, are you aware of what it actually will cost you to replace that building?
To replace the building?
Yeah.
No, I did not get hard numbers on that, because in my experience, I am in the trades, and I have a a fair idea of certain things. You can go a high end, that's a crazy number, and a low end, you know, obviously it makes everything sound different than it is, but it would definitely be cheaper to just start all over, 100%. And then get rid of the water issues in the basement. That site is very swampy. There's a French drain inside the basement. I don't even know if the footers are good, if we have to go that far, and to mitigate all that. And it's just a lot. And quite frankly, I did not go into this process with the intent of tearing it down. I was going to fix it up. But just the discovery was,
But I forgot what.
you know, the more we found out, it's like just the more things kept falling on the wrong end of the spectrum. And it'd be great. I've been trying to learn the laws so I can be educated about this, and it'd be great if there was a list of things, of criteria to meet that was somewhat specific, rather than a lot of these laws at least seem very vague, and it's hard to understand those. That's why I was asking specific questions about what are we looking for that would make this viable to tear down. Is it just trying to insulate it and it needs flooring and electricing and all that? Does that count, or is it just totally structural?
No, it doesn't. That doesn't count. It's the preservation of the structure that concerns us, not the cost of interior repairs and improvements. So what will keep the building standing, and is it viable to do that? And so those are the questions. You know, let Jackson and I make time to talk to you outside of the meeting, and we can begin to determine a list of engineers that's agreeable to both, and develop a scope for them based on your reasons for wanting to demolish the structure, and we'll go from there.
Okay. I not to be rude, I
Okay.
just feel like I don't have many answers
so,
to what we need. It's
well-
very vague. This seems very vague, because I kind of compare what I see around the corner happening, and I know 100% from what I think I'm hearing, that house probably shouldn't have been torn down, because anything can be fixed almost. I mean, you can really fix anything. It's just a matter of, is it worth doing that or not? And trying to make an educated, like, hey, okay, I don't know the laws well, but it's looking at other things. So, well, they did that over there, so if we need to, we probably can do that also. But it's just,
And we
very
don't
vague.
compare what gets done on different properties. We don't compare what gets done on different properties. We look at each property in a vacuum in
Yeah.
terms of, you know, because every property has its nuanced issues.
Sure.
But we do, and that is one of the reasons for finding an independent engineer to really help us understand what the issues are with this property.
Okay, that's reasonable.
I understand that you know, and I'd be glad to talk to you more about the law and the details of things that might confuse you or not be vague, and try to help you understand them better too. If we can, you and I and Jackson can set a time to meet to begin this process outside the meeting, so we can get it rolling, so you can begin to get closer to the answers you're looking for.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
You're
thank you.
welcome. I appreciate your patience and understanding, and willingness to work with us. We do need a vote on that. Liz votes yay.
Absolutely.
David, yes.
Roger, yes.
Pat, did you chime in, and did we miss it?
I did, yes.
Okay, Pat said yes, okay. Thank you very much, Keith, for understanding. Jackson and I will reach out to you in the next few days. I'm not sure of Jackson's schedule, but sometime during the course of the week, we'll get back in touch with you. Okay?
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll reach out, Keith. Thanks, man.
Okay, thanks. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
evening. Bye now.
I appreciate it too. Thank you. You too. Okay, we're going to revisit the public hearing for 21 Eagle Street and the proposed demolition of the existing garage. Jackson, did anybody join the meeting who expressed an interest in speaking regarding that project? You're muted, Jackson, sorry.
I haven't received any further requests. I've got
Okay.
one. We have two
Okay.
Donalds on
So-
here. I'm not sure if they're both Donald Du Bois or not, but everybody else is representing their own
Let's
project.
clarify. Since the conversation we just had was about proposed demolition, and let's clarify that 21 Eagle Street is not listed as contributing on the historic nomination, which leads to a different standard for evaluation for this board, for anybody who's listening and scratching their head. So with that said, Bennett, can you quickly summarize the proposed demolition again for anybody on the board who does not remember our conversation at the last meeting?
Sure. So it's a one-story attached garage.
Everybody frozen?
Mine's
No,
all good.
yep,
I'm good.
It's attached to the house, but the slab inside the garage sank about 6 inches and cracked severely. And the the gable end foundation wall adjacent to the garage has sunk a couple inches. And I can show pictures of standing water in the house. There you go. There are a confluence of factors that I'm sure have exacerbated what's happened there, but we don't feel like we can accurately diagnose what's going on in terms of the foundation failure, possible water, possible fill issues at that building without actually taking that garage down. And believe me, this is not something I wanted to do. I really like the idea of having an attached garage, and the structure otherwise it seems to be in fairly decent shape, but I just can't imagine being able to replace the cracked foundation walls, both the gable end and almost halfway on each of the length, the west and east foundation walls are cracked, and the slab has cracked as well. So without taking this structure down, we can't really do what we need to do to fix the foundation.
Excuse me, Bennett.
Does anybody have any
don't-
questions for Bennett?
Yeah,
Yes, I do know.
Bennett, could you, Roger McMillan here, can you enlighten me who saw this with you? What contractor?
Yeah, John Van Weeren is the foundation contractor, and Jim Forbes has come by and offered his assistance as well.
Okay. And it was at their conclusion, it had to get it.
John felt very strongly that had to come down in order to understand why it failed.
I see. Good. Okay, thank you.
This is Pat Yankee. Bennett,
Pat.
could you tell me, hi, could you tell me, do you have any plans for the space that's going to be vacated when the garage comes down?
Yeah, and in fact, I'm assuming I submitted those, and hopefully they got distributed. We actually are looking at bumping out the first floor into the garage space about 8 feet. We're still 13 feet from the property line, so we're more than 10 feet from the side yard setback to do that. And by doing that, it allows us to actually add a couple of elements to the first floor that we struggled to fit in we were working with Susan Snell conceptually to figure out how to add actually a fuller bathroom, make the kitchen a little more user-friendly and accessible, and open things up. So there should be, I don't know if Jackson has the information with him. I have the drawings. They should have been circulated. I'm assuming that they're actually a topic of discussion on the agenda. We can slip into that now if you want, or formally wait for the hearing to close. That you guys tell me how you want to do it. But yes, we are planning to extend 8 feet beyond. Here you go. So you can see to the right in the site plan, the existing footprint of the garage and our the 8-foot extension we'd like to add. And it's going to be 2 feet short of the front line of the house, but flush in the back. By the way, so a couple of things. It's interesting actually to see all the other applicants. Everybody's dealing with the same stuff, right? Moisture issues in the basement and additions, etc. The proposed garage is actually not something that we are applying for at this stage. The reason it's included in the drawings was conceptually for us. We struggled to think about rebuilding the garage that was there versus potentially building something larger. And so the idea of what we wanted to do at the house was dependent on how we imagined getting in and out of the house from a garage. So we conceptually drew up and show a garage there, but we're not applying for that at this point. I just want to be clear about that.
Homeowners will park on the street for the time being?
No, there's actually space in front of the garage that's there right now that we expect to continue to make available for parking side by side, but there will also be, we actually expect to put a driveway along the remaining, some portion, 11, 12 feet of the 13 left, so that we could park 2 cars in tandem in that driveway space beside the house.
Thank you.
Just see, Bennett, I don't know if you know, I think that you have to go to ZBA for a driveway or somebody. Is that right, Liz? Somebody has to approve driveways, don't they?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that driveways have to get.
And I'm not sure if he's asking for that at this point as much as I'm talking about a future plan. That's not part of the proposal at this point, correct?
That's correct. I mean, the one thing that I did, want to present is the fact that we're applying and submitting a site plan review to the planning board next week for the addition, which makes, we would like to pour the foundation, when we're fixing the foundation, let's pour the foundation for the addition, full basement, right? Seems silly not to take advantage of doing that at that time. But, I'm sure
Pat,
there will
does
be.
that help you understand the project a little bit better? Oops.
Me? Yes. Were you talking to me, Liz?
Yes, I was. I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, Bennett. I think we all have lags on our service here. Are there any questions before people are comfortable voting on the proposed demolition of the existing garage? If there are, let's address those, whether they have to do with what's the replacement plan or about the structure that's proposed for demolition. And then once we address that and the proposed demolition, then we can move on to Bennett's proposed changes to replace the existing garage. Any questions related to the demolition?
No.
Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion regarding the proposed demolition of the existing garage at 21 Eagle Street?
Did you close the public hearing, Liz?
Pardon me?
Did you close the public hearing?
Okay, thank you for reminding me to close the public hearing, Michael. If nobody else wants to speak on the proposed demolition of the existing garage, we will close the public hearing. I'll open it again. Does anybody want to speak about the proposed demolition? Okay, nobody's speaking. Let's close the public hearing. Would anybody on the Historic Preservation Board like to make a motion regarding the proposed demolition of the existing garage?
I'll make the motion, Liz.
Thank you, Dave.
We approve the demolition at, is it 38 Walnut? Or no,
21 Eagle.
21 Eagle. No, retract that.
21
The
Eagle.
garage at 21 Eagle that's
And,
attached to the house.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second. Roger, second.
And that was Roger?
Yeah,
Okay. And Jesse, because we are, now that you've joined the meeting, you may also vote in addition to Pat. You both can sit in the hot seats tonight. So any discussion before we vote on the proposed demolition? Okay. All in favor? Liz votes yay.
Roger, yes.
David, yes.
Pat,
Jesse,
yes.
yes, and Pat, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So Michael, that was unanimous. Now we can move on to Bennett. Would you like to explain anything else in addition to the questions Pat asked you regarding the plans that you shared today? And Pat, I did forward those to your email address in case Jackson's email did not get to you. And Jackson, if you're able to put those up to help Bennett out, that would be great. What would you like us to know, Bennett, that hasn't been said?
Well, so in terms of the juxtaposition of the addition and the relative, it's not super clear, but the relative distance to the setbacks, the site plan hopefully provides enough information. Jackson, do you have the elevations A3 and A4? Because I think the things that the board's going to want to know are what this addition is going to look like and how we plan to finish it on the outside. And while that's coming up, let me just start describing it, and then we'll have the visual. Great, awesome. So as you can see, we're looking actually at a shed roof sloping north towards the driveway, matching the existing 8-inch reveal of the aluminum siding. I'm expecting to salvage what's on the existing garage to be able to use on this addition. The roofing material, I expect to put an EPDM roof on top. The foundation itself is actually, we're planning to use 8-inch cavity insulated concrete forms. So we're going to have a 2-inch profile at the foundation that is going to be proud of the existing foundation. And I'm going to need to figure out, and actually, if there's any advice from the board about how best to visually accommodate that, that'd be helpful. I mean, in some ways, it can be obscured by the stairs. I expected to actually, so the existing foundation of the house is concrete block. I expected to just parge the ICF exterior. And again, the joints or the points where the replacement foundation is going to meet the old are going to happen at either the door on the front or the porch on the back. So I haven't quite figured out that one, but let me go through the other elements. You'll see that there's a new window on the north side, the driveway side. I sent a spec for that. It's a Marvin, and it's not Integrity anymore. What do they call them?
Elevate?
What's that?
Are they elevate?
Elevate. Yeah, that's it.
Are they Elevate?
Yes.
Elevate?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So the specs for the window should be in the packet. They size to match the existing ones. And then the door is actually it's a Therma-Tru 6-panel. Looks like it's when I read the agenda, somebody later is presenting essentially the exact same door. It's a paintable fiberglass door. It's a 3.0 door, so it's 36 inches wide. And we'll build some access steps in from the back into that back entrance. So the door and that window are essentially, well, they're not the only two new elements. I actually also want to put some 2 to 3 feet in from the that back door, put a Bilco down into the basement. But again, this is in the backyard. This is facing the back. Not sure if that's on A4. I think it's on A4 if that's available.
Bennett, what did you say the roof material is going to be?
Rubber roof, EPDM.
Okay, good. All right.
There we go. Again, sorry. So the garage is there. That's a first cut, but I'm not presenting that. And that wouldn't be something we would do for some time. And like, was it Emily? I mean, truthfully, and like what Keith was saying, at some point down the road, we've got to replace these windows, and I would like to do exterior continuous insulation and possibly reside this house, but that's a big job, and it's not something we're taking on immediately.
Bennett, my only question is about the west elevation, the new section. No window on the west side facing the street, nothing at this point?
The shower, that's actually, there's going to be a shower right there. I don't want to deal with a window in there, so no.
Okay. I was just, wasn't sure what the inside was going to be, but.
I think I submitted the floor plans with that material, so.
I didn't look at the floor plans,
Okay.
so
Well,
I wasn't peeping in your house.
The idea here, and we did this at the house here, is that, we're setting this first floor up so that, when we're older, we can age in place and we can live on the first floor. It's kind of,
yeah. Does anybody have any questions for Bennett? Jesse?
I don't think so.
Pat?
No.
Dave?
No.
Roger?
No,
Okay. Bennett, we don't generally weigh in on design decisions, but the parging of the form foundation sounds like it's appropriate, but when you do make a decision and would like to come to us for a clarification / field change, so we have the accurate information in the records, we'd appreciate it.
sure. No, I expect to parge that foundation. I'm not sure how to handle the transition to the old block.
Mhm.
Because I mean, unless I've got something wrong in the design, the concrete's going to be centered where the block is, right? Which means the 2-inch form is going to be proud 2 inches relative to the old block. So it's really just where that transition is. But again, as I said, that's actually going to likely happen at the porch. It's going to happen at the front steps and at the back porch. So we may just be able to, it may not be seen. It will be obscured.
Okay, well, when you have field changes regarding treatment and stuff, just keep us
I'll
in the
come
loop.
back. Absolutely.
So we realize that's a nuanced kind of decision. Okay, would anybody like to make a motion if there are no questions?
What?
Would anybody like to make a motion regarding the proposed work at 21 Eagle Street?
Wow.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the work proposed at 21 Eagle Street. After the removal of the garage, the foundation repairs to the residents, and the plans for the small addition on the north side of the house as submitted.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Please state your name when you vote. Liz votes yes.
Roger, yes.
David,
Pat,
yes.
Jesse, yes.
And Pat, you also chimed in, correct?
I did.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you, Bennett, very much.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. You're welcome. Okay, we will move on to item number D, 103 Main Street. Perry, would you like to tell us about your project?
Okay, the long-term goal is that I'm going to put high-end, long-term rental apartments, not Dreams Park, long-term apartments on the 4th, 3rd, and eventually the 2nd floor of 103 Main Street. I don't want to do it if I can't put new windows, because the current windows are atrocious. I'm going to match them as closely as possible, and I'm coming to you first. Simple as that.
Okay, and tell us about the current windows, the materials of the current windows, and
Okay.
then tell us what you're proposing.
They're metal single pane windows that don't really shut. I gave a sample window to Jackson. I was going to purchase it through Bruce Hall. It's something you're familiar with. I would like to change the color to black frames. And so you know my game plan. I'm going to go with the 4th floor. The next year, I'm going to go with the 3rd floor. The following year, the 2nd floor. So eventually everything will match. So you know where I'm going. I toyed with the idea Jackson had brought up. I discussed with Jane. I need a second means of egress out of the building. And I was toying with the idea because the property owns the alleyway in the back up to Helmut's Laundromat. But it's just too many people use it from the park. It just wouldn't be right. So there's a freight elevator where the loading dock is facing the Farmers Museum. I'm going to convert that to a stairway. So I am going to have to come to you for something as an entrance there. But other than that, everything's staying the same on the building outside of fixing it up, bringing it back to perfect condition.
So what you'll come back to as far as a fire escape type stairway on the
No,
farmer's
it'll be
market
a
side?
primary staircase more than it'll probably wind up being a main entrance, one of the main entrances, one of the two. So, but I identically match the existing pattern of the pane sizes in each of the windows. Nothing's changing.
And are the grids, they're simulated? It's not full divided?
No,
line,
I'm gonna
correct?
put real grids. I'll go in high end. I hate, it's probably 30, 40,000 more, but I just can't stomach that fake grids. It's not my nature.
Who has questions for Perry regarding the application?
Well, one of the questions I have is, this is a big project. Have you looked into tax rehabilitation credits for commercial properties? This is a listed building in a historic district and it's worth a lot of money to you.
I
Worth a
opened the
shippo.
door with Mr. Casal. Have I spoken in depth to him about it? No, but I definitely am. You were my first stop on this
Yeah,
run.
and if you're looking to do a nice quality job, it can be worth 20% of your cost. It's huge. It's worth a lot of money. The people you talk to are out at SHPO, State Historic Preservation Office. I'm pretty sure we have the information available through the village, but Liz or I could give you that information as well. But you really want to talk with them about this if you're thinking about this kind of money. It'll make a big difference to your bottom line. But I think these look, I mean, if they're replicating what's there, you know, in terms of appearance, the building, those windows are old and they do have some failure trouble, but I'd like to see them match.
I agree, Jesse, and thank you for bringing that up. And Perry, if I remember correctly, at least for residences, you have a 3-year window to do the work. So you could apply for all of the windows.
Okay.
Once you get the application in, if you're doing exterior work, there's a certain amount of interior work that you can also apply for. So you could think about your whole package, the stairs, the windows, and then some of the interior work you might be applying for. And the credit becomes an umbrella for all of that, as long as you're doing a certain amount of. So Jesse and I can try to point you in the right direction. If you don't hear from us within the next few days with a contact, please remind us, okay?
My pleasure. I normally do commercial work. I don't do residential.
Right.
Well, but
there's
the key here is that it's a commercial property because it's income bearing. And so there is money available for that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you for explaining that. Okay, Jesse, did you have any other questions or comments?
I don't think so. It seems that these are essentially replicating the light, how the lights are looking. Is that correct?
Yes.
If that's the case, I think that, I mean, as I recollect, the windows in the upper stories of that building are metal frame windows, aren't they? They're steel frame windows.
Correct.
Yeah, because it was an industrial building. It was a printing building.
Yeah, there's beautiful pictures of it. They were the size of the building, the printing presses. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I think keeping the scale of the windows and the number of lights is essential. It isn't inexpensive, but it will look really nice.
Yeah.
And I think black is a good choice. I think it's fine. It'd be really nice to see the upper stories of that building used for something. It's a great space.
Yes.
It is.
And,
Okay.
they all have incredible views of the lake.
You have no idea how beautiful it is up there. And anyone's welcome to come see it whenever they like.
Thank
It's
you.
magnificent.
Pat, did you have any questions for Perry?
No, I don't.
Okay. Dave?
No, I'm very familiar with the windows up there. My father actually has one in his studio.
Oh, neat.
Came from the first floor.
Maybe Perry wants it back.
It leaked terribly.
Welcome to my world, Pat.
Roger, did you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion regarding the proposed work at 103 Main Street?
I'll make the motion that we allow the replacement of the existing windows on the upper 3 floors at 103 Main Street with the Marvin windows as proposed in the list.
Would anybody like to second it?
I'll second.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Roger. Any discussion? Okay, Liz votes yay.
Roger,
Pat votes
yes.
yes.
Jesse, yes.
David, yes.
Okay, thank you all. That was unanimous. And Perry, remind us if you don't hear from us.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Have
Have
a
a nice
great day.
night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
That
Winnie,
would also
are
be
you,
number 5 in that, Liz.
pardon me?
It'd be
Number
number 5
5.
in that proposal also for energy conservation.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Thank you
Yep.
for reminding us of that.
Wait,
Add 5 to that resolution.
wait, I got what the resolution was. What was, can you read the 326 part again?
Number 5, and what else, Dave?
Basically, it's a replacement of existing windows
Right, but
Okay.
number 5 for
for
Okay.
energy conservation.
I didn't
Thank
miss
you.
anything that you said about 326, you're just adding that now. Okay.
Okay, thank you. That's good thought, Dave. Thank you. Okay, E on the agenda, on the regular agenda, Winnie Denny?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Winnie,
Yeah.
how are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm learning a lot.
Doing great.
We all
Any,
are.
would you like to tell us what you'd like to do?
Well, I purchased the house in 1981 and have tried to do all the restoration possible. And the problem basically is my windows. When I purchased the house, about every other window had a crack someplace. The storm windows had been, the ones I'm using had been caulked, so that was difficult to address. During the winter, the inside of the windows get a little frosty, and I would really, because of energy conservation and because I can't get the windows up or down anymore, this summer's been so humid. I have 2 air conditioners I can't get out of my window. I have a screen I can't get out of another window, and I have a fan I can't get out of another window. So I feel like I'm trapped in my house. I'd really, what I'd like to do is replace the windows and have the same appearance. I wouldn't have to have my storm windows, which hang from the top of the windows and push out, which they do not look nice. So I'd kind of like to replace most of the windows and, try to do it in 2 stages, buy the product, and then have it put in next year. So you can see on the picture how awful those look. If you ever try to get them off, it's really scary because the person has to lean way back and unhook them from the top. My antique windows, the bevel glass ones and the oval doors, I would never do anything to. So I'm just requesting permission to replace the windows that are indicated in the photograph. And they would be Marvin windows, which we've heard about, and they're the Elevate ones.
Winnie, I'm just going to ask you, the divided lights are going to stay as the lights are?
Yes, exactly the same as what the existing windows have.
And a simulated divided light with not grids between the glass, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
What product, Marvin product is it, Winnie?
It's the Elevate.
Elevate, okay. Great.
It's very costly to
Okay.
heat the house, and I think this would be the final thing that I would really need to do to have it more energy efficient.
No, that's wrong. That's wrong.
Okay.
Jesse, do you have any questions?
This is just something I hate to see people do. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, every house that I've ever lived in was an antique home, and I've done every single thing I can to preserve it. But these have been, I feel trapped. I can't open any of the windows anymore myself. They've gotten really, really swollen. They've gotten old. And as I said, you know, I wouldn't want to get rid of antique windows, but most all of the windows I had to actually replace when I bought the home because there were cracks in so many places. And there's probably still a couple that have small ones in the corner. So it's not as if I'm destroying the antique glass. There's very few of them that show that.
It's more than just the glass. It's the character of the windows themselves. And the windows need to be repaired. They were meant to be repaired. They're designed to be repaired. They're not meant to be yanked. And that I'm always sorry to see this happen. The storm sash actually aren't period. The storm sash probably dates when the house was centrally heated. Most people didn't worry about it until that. And they're not meant they're meant to be hung from the top, and they're not actually meant to be taken out in the summer. They're only meant to be taken out occasionally to be washed.
And
you lower your upper sash and you raise your lower sash and you create circulation. I've got them all over my house and they never come out, and they protect my windows. Part of the reason that, you know, I keep them there is because they protect my window sash. I'm currently working on the outside of the building, and I've got windows that I glazed 15 years ago. They have they've got them over it, and the glazing's fine. This is one of those things, you know, but I realize that it's tricky getting someone who knows how to repair windows to repair them, because
and a lot of
contractors who understand the work. Only got one or two.
The pulls on the inside where you have to pull out the tab in order for it to roll up on, those don't work. It's just
it's all repair work.
I have had them repaired, but it's just a point right now where I hate to have to hire someone to even help me get a window open. I'm almost 80 years old. I love my home, but I really need to be able to get air in my windows. I really need to be able to open my windows. And if you're trapped, I don't even know. The only place that I can think of other than my front doors to get out if there was an emergency or something would be either that porch with a combination windows that was fixed years ago, or my antique front and back. All of my doors I'm saving because they're very, very, very special. I understand your feeling completely.
Yeah, and it's a tough one. I
understand.
They need to be repaired, but it's the wood that needs to be repaired, not the glass. But I don't think you're going to realize a huge change in the quality of your heating bill. The place where you will is if you deal with your attic.
Well, the attic is well insulated. I've done everything insulation wise I can from the inside out. And I've even had it blown in years ago, when I first bought the house. I understand completely what you're saying. But for me, at my age, and in order to be able to have some quality of living here and being able to open my windows, it's so frustrating to not be able to get them open. And it's damaging to the windows to be rough on them to try to get them open. Closing is not an issue, it's opening them.
Yeah. I don't know what to say on this one. And the problem is finding someone who knows how to do the work. And we have a scarcity of people who know how to work with window sash. We have really one person who does a good job locally. Okay. And he can't possibly manage all of the places that are, they can work nicely, but they're over 100 years old. They need some help. That's the problem. They don't need to be replaced. They need to be repaired. But that ethic is just so hard it's really hard to find someone who knows how to do the work, and I can't, it's just not the kind of work I do. I do it for myself, but I don't do it for other people. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what to say. I understand where you're coming from. I like to have my windows open too. So that's all I'm going to say for now, Liz.
Thank you, Jesse. It's one of those tricky things we deal with, Winnie, with a lot of applicants, is understanding the quality of life versus trying to maintain the fabric. Pat, do you have any questions or comments?
Well, I don't.
Dave, do you?
No.
Roger?
No,
Okay. Jesse, thank you for fighting the good fight. I will ask for a motion for the proposed work at 38 Elm Street.
well, I'll make the motion. Whereas the Historic Preservation Architectural Review Board has made the following findings and facts concerning the proposed application replacing the windows at 38 Elm Street. Public hearing was not necessary. Requirements of seeker have been met. And section 300-26, the issue of principles of compatibility. To B, to C, 3A, B, C, and 5. Now therefore be resolved, we are the historic members of the Historic Architecture Review Board, Village of Cooperstown, on this 14th day of September, et cetera, and so forth.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Pat. Any discussion? Okay. Liz votes yes.
Roger, yes.
Votes yes.
David, yes.
Am I the only one left?
Yeah,
It's okay, Jesse.
what are you gonna vote?
What? You're asking me?
No, Jesse.
Oh, I'm going to be the holdout. I'll say no. It's
Okay,
a principle. It doesn't make any difference to the vote. So
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Winnie, very much. Jackson will get you a letter with the permit for the work. And if there are any changes, please just let him know so we can address it with a field change.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, 77 oh no, 31 Elm Street, Don, I'm sorry, didn't mean to skip that on the agenda. Is Don still with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Are you able to see me?
Hold on, see if I can.
I'm able to see you, but I'm not sure. I'm not visible on the smaller.
no, you're not visible.
You see a thing to start your video?
Pardon me?
I sent a message to start, I think, or maybe not.
Don, do you see the little camera in the lower left-hand corner of the screen that might have a red slash?
There he is. And now, there you go. And then unmute your thingy. There you go.
Still hear me, huh?
Yeah.
We
All
can
right.
see you and hear you. Yes, thank you. Okay, Don, would you like to tell us about the project?
Well, yeah, let me back up a little bit and give you a little history of what the church has been doing for the last 2 years with roofing. 2 years ago, we experienced a leak. Looking at the 33 Elm Street building to the right side, we had a leak and repaired that section with rubberized roof. We had to do it rather quickly or lose a lot of interior tile work in bathrooms and kitchens below there, as well as our furnace room. We have taken into consideration of having an engineer look at the roof, and at that time 3 or 4 contractors to examine it and give us some of their opinions, and all seem to be in agreement that the rubberized roof has a 20-year life expectancy, but if we were to invest in a truss roof with a 40-year shingle, we would be 20 years at an advantage of a longer life and spend the same amount of money. Besides the roof on the main section, there's skylight system up there, and that's in dire need of repair. Its life expectancy is getting shorter. And so in doing our estimates, we looked into having these contractors do it both ways, whether it was rubberized or the truss, and they come out pretty much the same, $100,000 to $120,000. Our engineer specifically, he's looked at the original plans of that building, and in his opinion, it's well, he used the word as no-brainer that a truss roof can be added to the existing flat roof on the existing walls. And at the same time, we've had energy audits done on all three of our buildings in the campus. And just to speak about the Parish Hall, number 33 Elm, with the truss roof, they're stressing tremendously that we can put all the insulation we want up there and probably really reduce our fuel bills tremendously, besides lighting fixtures, et cetera. But we'll keep on the subject of the roof for now. So that would help us also with the additional insulation on top of the existing roof, plus the maintenance on that flat roof is driving us a little crazy. It seems like every time we get up there and try and do something else, another bubble pops or something, which we wouldn't have these problems of standing water up there, and the truss roof of the shingles would just pretty much maintain itself for 40 years, hopefully, and then we would replace the shingles. So that's pretty much where we are. I know that there was a question pertaining to the siding on the gable ends of the roof, and I've had another meeting with Father Gamby and looked into the internet. Locally, no one wants to supply these imitation bricks right away. They don't put them in stock. But we found on the internet we can get the same color. You would never know the difference whether it was a real brick or imitation. And they can be applied to the gable end, which would have a half-inch sheathing on it. So other than that, what we're really looking for is a guidance from your department to tell us, are we wasting our time with a gable roof? Can we move forward with it? Or do we just hire a contractor to put down another rubberized roof and only get 20 years?
Thank you, Don, for explaining the situation. I think, you know, when this application first came in, we were pretty concerned about the proposal in our initial conversation when nobody was there to represent it, because it does dramatically change the appearance of a significant architectural style. And Jesse, please remind me, is this listed as contributing on the nomination?
Boy, let me go get the nomination and see.
Okay. So there are a lot of layers to consider. We understand the flat roof battle you're grappling with, and the rubberized roofing materials. When was the last time that roof was done?
Well, between pastors and poor record keeping, we can't really tell the year it was put on, but the contractors that have gone up there have informed us that we're lucky if we get a few years out of what's still there. So I have to assume it's 18 years old.
Okay. While Jesse's looking at the nomination to determine whether it's listed as contributing, Pat, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. It seems to me that, especially looking at the picture that was provided, it is an example of, public architecture in the 1950s and 60s that I don't see a lot of in Cooperstown, other than the school building. And it seems to me that to get an extra 20 years out of it by losing a building, especially when I haven't seen what the truss roof will really look like. I mean, there are a couple of lines that indicate that there's a gable and so on and so forth. But for instance, where does the edge of the roof come? It's the fact that it's a modern movement building in an area where there are very few others. And if we were an area where there were lots of them, well, but Cooperstown really has almost no good examples of that style of architecture. And I think, especially given the photograph that you provided, that really looks terrific. In fact, it looks more terrific than I think the building looks. But I would have to vote. I would be inclined to vote against it if it were me.
Yeah. I'm just flipping through the nomination and the property list. Bear in mind, the nomination was prepared in 1998, which is a long time ago at this point. It's coming up on 25 years. And buildings that were not yet 50 years old were not considered contributing. This building was built in 63, which means that if you add 50 to it, it didn't cross its 50th anniversary until after the nomination was prepared. And so it's considered non-contributing, as well as a very good Myron Jordan building that is the county annex next to the courthouse, which was built in 69 and should absolutely be listed, as well as the elementary school, which is a pretty nice example of type. It is also not considered contributing in the original nomination. At this point, these buildings should be considered contributing, and Pat's assessment is correct. That building is very intact from the exterior. It's also remarkably intact inside. It's still got virtually all of its finishes, its original plumbing fixtures, its tile, everything. It's a really nice example of a well-built public or religious building of the time. And that truss roof, there's just no way to make that look okay. The other problem with that roof is that it's a large building. It's already got a lot of presence on that lot. It's going to make it huge to bring up that pitch. Yep. Pardon? It's just going to be very, very big. It's going to make a big building really large and out of scale, I think. And I have a feeling that rubber roofing has improved considerably since the rubber roof that was put down. I think the quality of rubber roofing has come a long ways. So it may be that you'd get a lot more than 20 years out of a new EPDM roof if it were properly done, of course. So, stylistically, Pat's completely correct.
And I agree with Jesse and Pat in their comments, and the significance of the building and the style and the period, as well as the quality of rubber roofing. And that was why I asked how long ago the roofing had been done. I also wondered if you sought bids just from local contractors who may not have expertise in rubber roofing, or if you look to contractors who have a broader expertise in the new materials for flat roofs, because they have improved significantly. I think unless I would lean in Jesse and Pat's direction on not being inclined to vote for roof trusses and asphalt roofing. And I think if St. Mary's really wanted to pursue it, we'd want a more formal architectural rendering. But I would highly encourage the reconsideration of rubber roofing and looking at contractors and materials that are state of the art for that. Because there are so many buildings of that era that are otherwise very sound and in use throughout upstate New York. There are roofing firms that have expertise in dealing with roofs like this, institutional buildings.
I think that there might also be some wisdom in looking at making that roof a light color. A white roof would be invisible from the street, but a white roof gives you, will boost your energy efficiency considerably just by making it white. There's something to look into as well.
Dave, did you have any comments?
Another flat roofed building is over there on Fair Street. That's the Christ Church Parish House.
Right. Yep. Which is also a nice example of type and is very well built. And it's part of the period when churches were doing a lot of that kind of work. It's, you know, it's a very, very characteristic for both RC and Episcopal.
And Roger, as somebody who's been responsible for some of the decisions related to the physical plan at Christ Church, have you had to deal with the roofing on that building?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have, and it's always been relatively easy to fix. So it's never been a major problem. Yeah.
Dave, in your experience and wisdom, do you have any comments or suggestions or thoughts?
No, I've been involved in replacing rubber roofs, and you know, it's a process. You just need to get a good contractor, and they can insulate the roof and pitch it somewhat so it doesn't puddle.
I don't know if anybody is going to make a motion in favor of your proposal. I can't speak for the rest of the board members. I would highly encourage you to revisit talking to contractors with real expertise and experience in contemporary flat roof materials. And if you want to consider pursuing the proposed alteration to the roof, this board would need to see a more formal rendering and really understand, get a better sense of how it's going to change the structure visually. But I speak for myself, I think that altering the appearance is really going to be a very negative in terms of the appearance of the building, and I would really discourage it. I don't know if anybody else is leaning toward making a motion. I will leave that open to the rest of the board.
May I ask your question, Liz?
I'm
Ask
sorry,
a
Pat,
question?
can you say that again? Yes,
May I ask a question?
yes.
Mr. DeVos, do you know how high the parapet is from the roof surface?
How high what is?
The parapet, the depth that the roof.
I'm not able to understand your question. It's broken up.
I know what he's trying to ask. I can do it if you want. He's asking how deep is the roof below the exterior wall?
It varies. And keep in mind, there's 3 different roofs there. It's not all one roof. Each one has different height. And from my memory of being up there, I think that on the left and right smaller roofs, it may be 1 foot, and on the main roof, the center roof, probably 2 feet.
Well, you've got a lot of room to work with.
Did you hear me?
Well, I was thinking in terms of insulation.
Oh. Well, yes, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, we'd probably be putting in 2 feet of insulation.
Thank you.
And some areas might not take 2 inches of 2 feet because there are some valleys that are built up for the water to run to drainage areas.
Thank you. That answered my question very well.
Yeah, we never submitted an engineer's drawing for this, but it's interesting. An actual engineer's drawing might show that the building is could be attractive with the shingle work on it. But we held off from doing that. We had Hans de Waal look into this, and he gave us a quote, and we held off from doing any blueprints, obviously, because we wanted to hear from your board's opinion of what to expect. But there was one indication that if we came back with some kind of a drawing and showed what it might look like from the street view, it could go further. But I think probably what I'm hearing tonight is that the odds are against that.
Certainly with the drawings as they exist, and I think that it's fair to say that from what I'm hearing from the board, we would highly encourage you to revisit working with a contractor that specializes in rubber roofing and maintaining the original appearance of the building. Yes, you may have heard that the board would like to see what you're proposing will look, but the information you provided certainly doesn't give us a satisfactory understanding of how it will change the appearance of the building. And that's why I said if you wanted to proceed to pursue that, we would need more of a formal architectural rendering to truly understand that. Although I think it's fair to say that yep.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
Have any of the historical board members viewed that property from the outside recently?
Yes.
Okay.
I can speak for myself. I don't know if anybody else has, but
in doing so, I know I've stood out there on Elm Street and I've looked into the parking lot area to the building. And the roof with the 6-inch pitch, you can hardly even see the shingles on because the building's high enough not to. The only way you'll see that truss roof is from the gable ends. And there's only one gable that's visible, and that's from the rectory side where the rectory's garage is in the back corner.
how high will the truss roof be? See, these are things that aren't clear in the elevations you provided. And that's why we would need a more formal rendering if you wanted to pursue it, because we would need to understand what the elevation would be from the street and the side.
Okay, when Jane Gentile was involved, she indicated that there was a regulation saying that if to the center height of the gable was below 30 feet, I think from my memory, that it didn't get involved with historical approval. Is that right or wrong?
The appearance is something that gets involved with historic approval. And that's why we would be concerned about the appearance and the height and the change in appearance because of the addition. So the
So my
It-
question is that 30-foot an actual guideline for the historical board?
No,
Yeah.
the 30, Liz, hold on one second. I'm going to interrupt. I think the 30-foot Jane was talking about, that is the ZBA variance height that you're allowed to go up to. If that, I don't think that directly involves the historical board, does it, Liz?
It does not impact the height. And Jackson, you can weigh in on this. The specific height measurement is not something that HPARB weighs in on. If it goes above that, it becomes a ZBA issue. However,
And-
if the change in height affects the appearance, that is of HPARB's concern. So it can be within that 30 feet, and HPARB can still say, because this affects the appearance of this structure, we are considering it. If that makes sense. And Jackson
Yeah,
or
no,
Michael.
I understand now. You
Yeah.
clarified
Yeah.
very well. Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I don't know if anybody else has any feedback for Don. If anybody else was leaning toward making a motion, please go ahead. Otherwise, my inclination would be to encourage you to revisit maintaining the original profile of the roof and looking at contractors who specialize in it. Otherwise, we really would need more formal elevations and more formal drawings.
And there are local contractors who can do, Ed Leslie can do that type of work as well.
You can't recommend contractors.
Would you be in a?
Sorry, I apologize. I just mean to say that the products are much better and they are also locally available.
Jackson, do you have a list of the contractors that might specialize in?
I misspoke, actually. Sorry, I don't.
The village can't recommend contractors. However, I think Otsego 2000 was putting together a list of contractors who specialize in certain areas. So you may want to ask Ellen Pope if they've been able to put that list together. And then maybe talking to people at the Bassett Physical Plant, the county office building, physical plant managers, and talk to people with similar profiles to see which roofers they've used and might recommend.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Don, for your patience with this. It really is a significant building. I understand the challenges of a flat roof, but I really think St. Mary's campus is a beautiful campus architecturally, including that building. And to change the profile of that roof would really detract from it. Any other comments before we let Don go? Thank you, Don.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have 77 Chestnut Street. Steve, are you hanging in there with us? Is Steve still on or not?
I don't see a Steve.
Okay, I'm assuming it was Steve Smith. Is somebody representing 77 Chestnut? Okay,
It doesn't look
Um,
like it. I reached out to them today, but it's a a field change as it's
Right.
stated in the agenda there.
why don't we go ahead to 76 Fair and revisit that after we deal with the people who are waiting. David, are you with us still?
Oh, here, I'll ask him to unmute.
Thank you.
I would ask him to unmute. I have chat and hi non-video participant. And I don't have that option for him. Can you ask him to unmute, Jackson?
David, if you can hear us, are you able to unmute?
I'm trying.
Oh, now we can hear you.
Hey,
Feel free to turn your camera on if you're able to also.
I can't invite him to do any of that.
She said he can't invite you to Zoom.
Do you see the little camera in the lower left-hand corner of your screen? And it might have a red bar kind of diagonally through it. If you're able to click on that, the bar should go away and
Yeah, there you go.
See you.
We got it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell us about your project?
Hi, good evening, board members. My name is Dave Peinenberg. At 76 Fair Street, which I'm thinking a lot of you board members are familiar with because it came in front of your board, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. They wanted to do some major work to the property. And I guess it was turned down. I grew up in that house. You know, my parents bought it around 1960. They were there till 2014. I live in Connecticut now with my wife. We're about 3 hours away. We live just north of the city. With 76 Fair Street, I'm interested in purchasing it. I've talked to the current owner. We have a verbal agreement for me to buy the house, but I need to know that I can be able to do certain things with the house to make it livable for, quote, a second home, for a place that my wife and I would want to go to in the summertime or on weekends, maybe during the fall. And this is a general question. I'm not putting anything formal in front of you, but I want to get your opinions that for the rear of the house, I'm looking to put a second floor, put a bedroom on top of the kitchen. Right now, the kitchen has a flat roof. The house, if anybody's not aware, is built in 3 stages, 3 separate periods. The original 1840, the first part of the house by the street. Around 1880, the middle section of the house was built. And then it says around 1960, the kitchen was built, the kitchen and the garage. That is the area. I want to leave the garage as is, but where the kitchen is, I want to take it down to the ground, put a proper foundation there, because right now it's just cement blocks. And I don't even know if the board members realize this, that when my mom and dad first moved in that house, the kitchen floor sloped towards the rear of the property almost 5 inches. So along with Russ Smith from Toddsville and my dad, they shimmed the thing, like I said, about 5.5 inches from the middle of the house towards the rear end of the house, just to make it level so it wouldn't be going down a hill as you walk to the back of the house. So, you know, so that was put in there, and that's still there today. That kitchen right now, the way it's constructed, the walls and the footings on it would not be able to support a second floor unless the foundation was completely done. So I'm not looking to do anything with the front of the house except, you know, change out the aluminum siding and go back to the original clapboard. You know, the windows there, they're kind of like the gal at 38 Elm Street. Same situation there. Many of those windows are over 100 years old and they don't open or close very much at all. But if I were to buy this house, and I'm only going to buy it if I know that I can put this second floor, I want to put a master bedroom up there for my wife and I. Right now, the bedroom on the second floor barely has, I think, 6 feet, maybe 6'4" height. So I'm not the tallest person in the world. I'm only, 5'10", but there's not a whole lot of ceiling room up there. So I think it'd be better to take that bedroom on the second floor, make that into a closet and like a master bathroom, and then put the actual bedroom on top of a new kitchen. And I'd also like to put a 3-season screen porch out the back of the house where there's now a patio. So I'm just looking to get your input. If that's something that you don't think would fit in with the neighborhood. I do know that 78 Fair Street did a major renovation in the rear of their house a couple of years ago. They put a big dormer out the back so that they could have more room on their second floor. And of course, 74 Fair Street, about 25 years ago, undertook a major renovation work where, they almost doubled the size of that house to where it is today. So I'm just kind of giving you a little input of what I'm looking to do there. I do know that the property line on the left-hand side of the house, on the hospital side of the house, is only 2 feet, maybe not even 2 feet from the side of the house. So it's very tight there. So, and I'm not looking to increase the floor space, the footprint of the house whatsoever. I'm just looking to build up on that back section of the house. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. I don't have any architect's designs. I don't have any sketches for you. Because they said, I don't own the house, and I'm communicating with the owner and he's willing to sell it to me. But that's kind of what I told him. Unless I know I can work on that house and what I've just explained to you, I'm not willing to buy it for his asking price and then try to fight later on to try to get this thing done and then find out that it just isn't something that you don't think would fit with the neighborhood.
Dave,
So-
thank you for coming to us and asking us. And I'm not sure who owns the house now. The owners a few years ago, and I was on the board when I think it was the Schwartzes, but I can't remember. I may have that name completely wrong. Did come to us with a proposal. They did want to demolish the earliest section of the house, and we asked them not to do that. But there were architectural plans, in my recollection, approved for demo to that middle and back section. And so in the past, the board has been most concerned about maintaining the exterior appearance, the historic appearance of that front significant section. We realize there are structural issues and evolutionary issues with the later sections of the house. And I know at one point work was approved to remove that middle and back section and build I don't know if it exactly, certainly it's probably different from what you're proposing, but to make a significant addition in the living space, but maintaining that front section. And it sounds like you're trying to maintain that front section. And I will speak as one member of this board. I do not see a problem with entertaining a proposal to do work on that middle and rear section of the house. And I don't know if anybody else on the board has any recollection of that or comments related to it.
Liz, I do. And actually, I've been in that kitchen and I understand where David's coming from. I mean, Willie actually kind of worked for me for years. Yeah, I think it's absolutely feasible.
Yeah, Liz, I was on the board, we were on the board together when this whole thing came up. And as long as the front of the house is not touched, I totally agree that it's very, very feasible.
Pat and Jesse, I don't think you were on the board then, but do either of you have any questions or comments for Dave?
No, I don't.
No.
Jesse, as somebody who's familiar with that house in the context of the Nomination and Fair Street, that is one of the older houses on that section of Fair Street. And I don't know if you have anything to add.
I can remember seeing Dave, I remember seeing your father's in the evening when I was walking the dogs. He was sitting on the porch, waved to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking to kind of bring the house back to, I've always disliked the aluminum siding. I think that's compliment of my dad. I think he just thought it was easier to do the aluminum siding than paint it. So it's been up. That was one of the few things he did to the house that, so I think it could look very appealing from the street. I do like the porch, the nice big wide front porch, 2 front doors, yes, the second floor and that first section has a very low ceiling, but it is the way it is. So it's been like that way for 180 years. So, just to try to gain another foot or two of ceiling space on that second floor, I don't think it's worthwhile. It's definitely livable. So,
Good for you.
Yeah, we certainly applaud you trying to work with the original section of the house and make changes that make it feasible for you to live in it. And I think that it would be great to see that happen.
okay, all right. Thank you for your input.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
waiting tonight.
All right.
Anybody have anything to add before we let Dave go?
No.
Okay, great. Thank you. We're gonna, we had an adjustment in the agenda. We're gonna go to 52 Chestnut Street. Terry?
Yes, good evening. So I understand that I was on the agenda in July, but I wasn't made aware of that. So I wasn't present, but I was told that by Jackson after the fact that you had discussions about the appropriateness of the design. So that's where I guess I'd like to start, is to understand your thoughts on that, because I'm not married to any specific look. What we're hoping to get is a 3-season electric gate with a single inward swing. We presented horizontal slats that we thought from a design perspective would coordinate with the main house. The product that we showed you in the example was not the wood color or the style of wood that we would be looking. It was more the design. Had I been there on the meeting in July, I could have explained that it wasn't that particular wood, the dark panels, but something similar to that in design. So if I don't have the documents, the photographs, shortly after that meeting, I broke my foot, and somehow or another they got filed away somewhere. I can't put my hands on them. I'm hoping that Jackson has them available.
Jackson, can you pull up those documents and share them?
So that was just to give you an example of where the gate would be located at the back of the house and to connect to the 4-foot fence that separates us from the Rudy property. The next one should be a photograph of, so those stakes are actually where I had piping run underneath the driveway when they poured electric run under, no, not like wiring run under the conduit run under there when they paved the new driveway. So it's ready for electric for the gate. And that's what those 2 pink flags are. That indicates where that would come up. And they're circled there. That is the design as in vertical slats like that, but we are not looking to put that type of a modern look to it. We would want something that was more compatible with the exterior of the main house in this color and the style of the slats.
Did you mean to say horizontal slats, Terry?
Did I said horizontal?
Did you
I
mean
write
horizontal
vertical?
or vertical?
I meant horizontal, similar.
Okay.
See, this one's on its side.
Yep.
So it would be horizontal slats, similar to the slats, horizontal slats on both of the buildings, the main house and the new construction.
So you want to mimic the siding? Is that what you're saying?
We're going to try to mimic the look of the siding.
It's me, Liz.
Yes, Dave, go ahead.
I got another meeting. I gotta go.
Thank you, Dave, very much.
All right.
Good night, Dave.
Okay, is there a drawing about how you plan to kind of marry the proposed gate to the fence that is vertical between 52 and 54? And
right where you're circling, where you were just circling that particular area, right there would have a stationary piece of the same material as what's used on the fencing. And there, because there would be a gate handlebar mechanism right back there. Now it's on the left-hand side, behind the gate. You wouldn't see it from the street, but when the gate swings inward to the left, it would be having a mechanism controlling that, and that would be housed right there behind that. So there would be a stationary panel that could hide that mechanism, and then the gate would swing to open up the driveway only. We don't want people being able to drive on the, anybody driving on the gravel along the left.
So, and that mechanism is
Something like that, exactly.
It's okay. So it's also a horizontal treatment. And then what about on the house side?
So on the house side, if we're going to have those two hostas taken out, and there's going to be a single panel or a support attached to the house. My preference would be to have a small gate there that allowed you to walk through without having to open the driveway gate. And then that piece would connect to where the driveway the gate would open and swing back and forth. So there'd be a stationary piece to where the circle is on the right. And then there would be possibly a gate that allowed us to open to the right of that. And then it would attach to another stationary piece that would be attached to the back southwest corner of the mudroom.
And this is going to be painted, you said, to match the house?
It can be whatever the board prefers. I'm not all that particular about it. Our original design thought was that it would be consistent with the exterior look of the structure, so that when someone looks at it, it all kind of just blends together. But I'm not adverse to having it be similar to the 4-foot fence that it's going to attach to, which is
that's the fence that's in the right in this picture, correct?
Which is the shadow box design.
But it's not similar because it's horizontal. It's not vertical.
Exactly.
And that's the thing I think I'm struggling with is that it's not historic to try to carry over a fence design to reflect clapboards on a house. So
okay, so we can throw that out. I'd also looked at metal gates, wrought iron, and I've gotten some quotes on that. That's a pretty expensive ticket. So I was hoping to be able to use a metal frame with wood somehow involved. I do have an additional design that is more like a, if you know the top of the fence on the White House, they have this little, the fence in the back of the White House has this all these little bunch of squares. I don't know what the pattern is called, but it's just a bunch of squares. And they make the same pattern. I saw that, and I just sent that to Tom last week, asking him if we could do something like that as a possible visual to show you guys tonight. And I didn't get it back in time. But I'm happy to work with you over the next meeting to get some visuals made up. I was just hoping to get some feedback from you as to what you would find acceptable.
Well, those were my comments. So let's open it up to see if anybody else on the board has any feedback regarding what you're proposing or some other kind of questions. Anybody?
Liz,
yes, Scott.
I have a little difficulty with the idea of a fence replicating the house, replicating a building, as opposed to, especially since there's a fence that bumps up to it on the other side.
Right.
So,
I agree with you. I understand that. I understand that concern. And the thought is that the support for this will obscure the visual from the street. You won't see that 4-foot fence when we're done. You'd see the gate process across there. So it wouldn't be, you wouldn't see the transition from the 4-foot fence to the gate. We would have it built so that that wasn't seen from the street. If you understand what I mean.
I do understand that. But I think the idea of horizontal slats in this particular part of the country are foreign to us. We don't. I can't think of many.
that idea really is just strictly from the staying with the design of the house. And I'm perfectly happy not to go with that direction. I'm perfectly happy to go with metal or some other type of wooden designed fence that would be agreeable to the village. I was actually looking at the fence that I'm trying to visualize. I could send it to Jackson right now, but it would resemble the 9/9 windows. Everything would be just a little window box kind of design across the entire wood structure. And I can send it to him right now if he can pull it up for you. It's a similar design. It's not exactly what I sent to Tom, but it'll give you the idea of what I'm talking about.
If you could share it in the chat, so we might all be able to see it there as well.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
while Terry's doing that, does anybody else have any questions or comments, Jesse or Roger?
No, I'm all set.
Okay, hold on a second. So chat to everyone, right? Did it go?
Yeah, it is. Oh, the file, variance, mobile, library. I don't think the picture came through. It's just a big.
It's the link to the picture. Yeah. Okay. Let me see what I can
I'm
do.
in
Hold
a
on.
place with an unstable internet connection, so I'm having a problem opening it.
Okay. Let me try a different version of this. I'll enlarge it and then take a screenshot. Hold on. Okay, going back to it. Doesn't want to let me paste it in. Hold on, let me try again. I can send it. Let me check. In the meantime, I'll send it to Jackson.
Yeah, if you email me, just email it to me and I can open it up.
Okay, it's on its way.
Does anybody else have any questions for Terry while she's doing that? Or comments?
But I want to reiterate, I'm still looking at other design possibilities that might be more appealing. So if anyone has any suggestions, I'm totally open. So not that they would be a two-piece like this, but a design where it was this type of look, which kind of is similar to the 9/9s windows that we're going to keep as 9/9s on the side. Visualize this as a single panel that
But
has
a fence spanning the property, spanning the driveway.
just spanning the sides of the
So
driveway.
it's really a decorative fence. It's not for security or.
Well, it is for security. I would like it to stop people from being able to pull
Anybody
their
have any
vehicles
questions
to the
related
back.
to?
Well, no, I'm more concerned about them not being able to pull their vehicles straight to the back building because once somebody pulls into the back of the structure and with a big truck, nobody can see what they're doing back there. And I want to be able to keep service trucks and things like that outside that back part of the house, towards the back house. So this would actually, in 3 seasons of the year, it would stop vehicles from being able to pull all the way back into the back part of the parking area. They would have to wait until we opened the gate.
Does anybody have any questions for Terry?
No,
And there wouldn't be the scallop at the top. It would be a straight line similar to the architecture of the house is the thought.
Are these to be mounted on a metal frame?
That would be my preference for stability, yes.
Thank you.
But again, none of the electrical mechanisms would be visible from the street. It would all be hidden behind one of the stationary panels. Does that design appeal to any of you?
Okay, does anybody have any comments? Terry, we'd really need to see kind of the rendering of
I'm happy to
what
bring
this
in
would look
further.
like in
yeah,
the
I
size
just
that would
want,
span the driveway, get a sense of how big, etc.
well, just so that you are aware, I'm not adverse to doing this design where it's two that swing in so that they're not as large each side, if that is the preference of the
I'm
board.
having trouble with.
well,
I'm happy to get renderings made now that we have a design that you might be interested in seeing versus no, you don't like that, and I don't waste your money doing
I'm
those.
having trouble with my connection, so I really can't hear what you're saying.
yeah, I would suggest you get a few drawings and present them next month.
All right, well, it would be helpful to know if this would be a no, and just keep looking, Terry, and keep coming up with new thoughts, or whether this is one that you would like to see. I mean, if there's adverse opinions about this design, I'm happy to move on and start looking for others. And I'm also happy to send them to Jackson electronically as I come upon things to see if, he can just, I don't know what the best way to, we have to have meetings to look at them, or you want to maybe just look at them as a group. I don't know how you handle your meetings.
Terry, you can send stuff to me. I think it's most important, if I may, members of the board, that the fence mimics other appreciated fences in the village rather than it mimics your siding or your windows. The fencing shouldn't mimic other parts of your home. It should look like a nice little village fence.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I just need some
agree with
examples
that.
of,
Thank
do you know
for,
where,
we don't want to
clarifying that,
design-
Jackson. It should look like a traditional fence.
Yeah.
okay,
We
so
want to design your project.
are there examples within the village that I can go and observe?
All over the village.
Okay, I'll start driving around.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Feel
Thank
free
you.
to shoot me stuff and I'll compile it and we'll work through this.
Thanks so much. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Not yet.
Okay. Regarding 77 Chestnut Street, did anybody have any questions or comments there? It is a field change. Steve had explained pretty clearly what needs to be done. Does anybody have any concerns about what he's proposing?
I don't. That's Steve Smith. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
I would make a motion to the field change that as proposed is totally acceptable.
Okay. Anybody like to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Roger,
votes
yes.
Pat, yes.
Roger, yes.
Jesse, vote. How do you feel about 77 Chestnut Street, Jesse?
Yes.
Yes? You're
She's
you're
muted.
muted.
So,
I don't know how I got muted. I'm sorry. Yes.
I didn't do it.
The cat.
Okay, thank you.
What was the field change?
Pardon me?
What is the field change? So I can just summarize it.
It's in the agenda that Jackson circulated, so why don't we give you a copy of the agenda if Michael didn't get it?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I can look at it. I just,
Paste it? Okay, instead of reading it off to you, that would be great. Did everybody have a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting?
Yep.
We may not have enough people to vote on them because Pat, you weren't at the last meeting. So I don't think the three of us can vote, or maybe we can, maybe it is a quorum. We have a quorum and three of us can vote. I vote to approve the minutes. At least we can try to approve them. Maybe we can reapprove them at the next meeting.
I agree.
Me too.
I approve.
Okay, thank you. I'll put one more plug in and I'll talk to Dave and Brian as I can grab them. Because Mark has moved from the village, we'll be doing some musical chairs. And I spoke to the mayor today, and with those musical chairs, we'll be looking for another alternate. So I'm going to ask everybody to think about people who might be good alternates for this board and share any suggestions. The mayor also recommended, had a short list of people. And I would really like to, not that I'm opposed to any of these people, but have a better understanding of what they would bring specifically in background to this board, as well as anybody who you might consider as a potential member. But the short list, and I'll circulate it to everybody, including Dave and Brian, includes Roz Thomas, Dave Strogas, Patty Ashley, Eileen Anania, and Luke Wyckoff. And in addition to those folks, if folks want to put their thinking caps on over the next few days and see if there's anybody else they'd like to suggest, and share those with me, we can give the mayor a few more names, but I'd also like to, before she appoints anybody, really think about what any of these folks might bring to the table in terms of experience or expertise or wisdom. That's my quick plug. If anybody has any conversation, I know it's been a really long meeting, so I understand if you don't, but maybe we can start a little email chat about it if nothing else.
So you're going to send us a list of people who have been suggested?
That list that I just read out, I will share with everybody again, including Dave and Brian. And then if other
Okay,
people have,
good.
if other people have suggestions,
We can add to it.
please
Yeah,
add to it. And
great. Thank you.
okay. And then as things shake out, Ellen will make appointments and we'll figure everything out. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
Good.
everybody, for hanging in there tonight. I really appreciate it. I know it was a long one.
Thank you.
Good
And
work.
think about Hanford Mills next year. Yes.
Or Hanford Mills for Eva Koo. I think they're still looking for extras.
Okay.
Take
Thanks,
care.
everybody. I hope
Thank
my
you.
first Zooming was okay.
You did a great job, Jackson.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah.
it was great, Jackson.
I had a
Jack,
lot
everybody.
if I may suggest, Jack, if you could print out a copy of the agenda. So I like to come by on Monday or Tuesday, and I was, except saying, "Where's Jack? Where? Please." And my printer died, and typical Roger, the Hewlett Packard doesn't repair these things anymore. It's too old.
James spoiled, James
Just like
spoiled
me.
us, Jackson. James spoiled us. So
Too
Got
old.
it. Well, I want to meet all your expectations, and I don't really know when I'm supposed to weigh in on things or say anything. When I mentioned that the windows were true divided lights, they're actually grilled between glass, but that
Who's-
allows the
wait,
Muntins-
who's our grilled between glass?
well, the not grilled between the glass, but simulated divided light. Because
Okay, there's
true
a
divided
difference,
light,
yeah,
the Muntin,
right.
it's real fat, and so I just don't know
Well,
when-
we do discourage the grill between the glass, so
Right.
certainly, but if it was a simulated divided light, that's
That's what we
less,
call, right.
less of an issue. Okay,
And-
thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks.
Michael, I think you did a great job on the minutes.
Oh, thank you, Roger.
Always.
Yes.
As usual.
All right.
All right.
Night.
Good night, all.
Bye. Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.